many rapes do you think the slut walk has stopped?
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started.
Again, going back to this idea that, again, I don't like this big government dichotomy any more than you do, in the sense that you say, well, it's big government for the government to get inside people's wombs. And I say that it is the government's job to preserve life, liberty, and property, and one of those things is life. To protect you from someone else taking it, okay? To protect you from someone else taking it.
A lot of them actually believe in the manosphere, by the way. The manosphere, you know the manosphere.
You made that up?
You realize people have different opinions in there and are different groups and different ideas.
Actually, I did.
Yeah!
Face to face with a few of them.
Such as?
Well, Emily Yukis.
She's not there.
Okay. What was his name?
You haven't talked to a single one of them. You don't know what you're talking about. You're slandering people like all the people that were out here protesting.
Now, when it comes to the idea that all money in politics is bad, again, I ask you, final question, final point on, we're going through 10 points at a time here, but final point here. When you say money in politics is bad, again, I ask you, Buddy Roemer gave you $4 million to start TYT. What did he expect in return? Should he not have given you money? Was the money not speech? It was just money, after all. It's just like a hooker, I assume. So are you the prostitute? How did this work? When you take money from Al Jazeera, does that make you a hooker for the Qataris? How does that work?
That was an awesome conflation.
Trump's racist.
What has he done that's racist?
Just everything, like everything that comes out of his mouth.
Hiring people of every race, color, and creed is racist?
Well, not hiring, but some of the comments that he makes regarding like different genders and different like races, and just like anyone who he doesn't consider a true American, which he defines the white male as like.
When did he do that?
I don't want to talk to you anymore. So.
Well, I'm not surprised.
And let me tell you something. None of Trump is American. All of his family, all of his wives, everything of him is immigration. His wife is from the Czech Republic. Is he trying to kick her out?
No, of course not.
His parents aren't American, trying to kick them out? His children, they aren't fully American, they plan to kick him out?
Pretty sure that all these people moved here legally, though.
Okay, so you're saying that just because... let me just say this is a Bernie rally. Try going to like the zoo.
That's a very clever suggestion.
Or the depths of hell itself. Have a good day.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust.
The dominant narrative in America is white people are evil, white people suck, we should be ashamed of ourselves. And
I don't think we should be ashamed of ourselves. I think that we should take responsibility for the system that we've created.
The best system in the world?
Oh, we do not have the best system in the world.
Who has a better system?
There are many European countries that are much better off than us.
Oh, you mean like the European countries with a higher density of whites, like Northern Europe?
That's one way to phrase it, I guess.
You don't mean Turkey.
No.
You don't mean Eastern Europe
No.
with the communists. So the only time you can come up with a system that's better than America, it's a country that's more white than America. I don't understand.
I don't know what to say to that. So,
how can you argue that racism is not a driving factor in income inequality?
Because it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. And when you have a culture that doesn't, and when, you know what? Explain to me. You explain to me why black kids aren't graduating high school. Explain that one to me. Explain to me why black kids are shooting each other in rates significantly higher than whites are shooting each other. Explain to me why 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of the murder. Explain to me why the number of black kids in prison, not for innocent reasons, not for walking down the street and getting pulled into a prison, is so high? Explain, if it has nothing to do with culture, explain to me why the single motherhood rate in the black community jumped from 20% to 70% in the same course of time that the civil rights movement has made such tremendous strides. Is America more racist now than it was in 1960? And if it is, please explain to me how that happened.
Anybody can jump in. It's an open mic there.
You're actually the only woman who's actually featured. Because guess what? It's a bunch of dudes. And I do not appreciate that.
Did you just call me a woman? I'm legally a man.
Are you?
Yes.
Yeah, he's racist. He's sexist. I haven't heard really any firm policy
Well, we just keep hearing these terms, racist. What's a racist thing he said?
that he insinuating that Mexico is sending their rapists.
They are. 80% of the young girls who cross the border get raped. I thought you feminists hate rape.
I do.
So do you think 80% is a pretty bad stat for women getting raped? 80% of the women crossing the border get raped.
By Americans?
No, by illegals.
Okay.
Well, Hillary won the popular vote, but the people who were voting for Hillary and for Trump both accepted that they were taking part in an electoral system. They wouldn't have complained about that system if Hillary won. So it doesn't really make a difference.
Someone else, my friend.
Pardon?
Go and interview someone else.
Let me ask you this. Okay, I won't ask you how old. I will ask you how old you are, okay? Because you're young enough that it's probably not insulting to ask you. So.
I'm 22, so I'm probably only naive, right?
No. Why aren't you 60? Why aren't you 60?
Is it?
And why can't you identify as 60? What is the problem with you identifying as 60?
It's called the same as gender. You can't just.
You're right. Age is significantly less important than gender. You can't magically change your gender. You can't magically change your sex. You can't magically change your age.
I have two comments to make. First, I want to direct this to Miss Skinny Minnie.
Which Miss Skinny Minnie?
Isn't her name Mimi or Skinny
Yeah, okay,
Minnie?
Mimi.
Well, the skinniest girl up there. Anyways, she made a comment that you have to have a lot of willingness and motivation to be skinny.
I was quoting Dr. Kelly Brownell of Yale. That's what he says.
I don't care who you was quoting. You said it, own it.
I agree with him, absolutely.
Okay, good. But I'm a plus-size model. I am willing and motivated to wake up every day to keep these curves. I don't want to wake up and look like you and be confused and quoting everybody. Why don't you say what you have to say and stand up for what you believe?
Oh, I was just tagging on to she was talking about the same Yale Center, so.
Okay, but let me ask you a question while you're standing up. Why is it okay for you to call her Skinny Minnie? But it's not okay for her to comment about someone's size that's larger.
Well, I don't know her name, so, okay, you got me on that, but moving on. No chubbies. No chubbies. No, I got something for no chubbies.
You said it. Own it.
I am the one, the way your son don't need a gun to get respect up on the street.
Why don't you like President Trump?
He's a liar.
What did he lie about?
Do you really not know?
I'm asking you, I don't know.
Well, you could Google it.
Google what?
Why don't you try?
So you have no answer?
My answer is why don't you try?
You're out here protesting, you spent hours out here today sweating. Why don't you like President Trump?
If a man stops you in the street and wants to talk to you and gives you a compliment and thinks that you're attractive and wants to get to know you better, do you think that's a sexist thing to do?
Yeah, it is.
Why is that sexist? Why do you think that?
Well, because it's based on. What to say? It's based on.
It's based on what?
It's based on. His like. It's based on what he thinks is. I don't know to explain. Oh my god.
When black people die, when black people are killed in a church, that's a fucking terrorist attack.
Whose fault is that?
A white man's.
It's a white man's fault. What about the fact that this young man was on psychotropic drugs?
What about the fact he had a fucking Confederate flag?
What about the fact that this man and almost every other mass killer has been on psychotropic drugs?
That means we have a mental fucking fucking health problem, but it's also the fault of the woman.
So let me ask you this. Do you know who's taking money from Big Pharma?
Hillary! Everybody!
Wrong! Donald Trump has taken $0 from Big Pharma. I stopped you on that one. Do you have anything else?
Fuck you!
Great comment!
How would you explain the amount of black people in jail currently?
Higher numbers of black people committing crimes.
Well, that's not the case.
It is absolutely the case.
Keep going. It's been statistically shown that white people use drugs just as much as
And
black
as I said, people are generally not arrested for using drugs. They're generally arrested for drug distribution in the drug war.
Do white people not distribute drugs?
Well, they don't in terms of proportionality with regard to, I mean, the idea that, again, you need to show me the statistics on drug distribution. So the burden is on you to prove the disparity, not on me to prove the non-disparity. Well, you're the one who's accusing the criminal justice system of wild injustice. Again, I don't have the statistics in front of me, so it's hard for me to cite statistics on that particular aspect of drug distribution, but you'd have to show that there are a bunch of white people who are distributing drugs to the same extent as the black people in jail, and then tell me that they're not being treated equally. You can't just suggest that drug use is equal to drug distribution, because statistically it's not.
Once again, it's this wonderful capitalist invention called Google. Google it.
Well, you could Google it.